Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Unreal Engine tutorial. My name is Saragan, and we are going through our how to make Breathedge style game. Sorry for the delay in this video. We got a new dog who's currently just turned 1 year old, and well, the the anxiety is insane. But yeah, we're making progress. We're getting him settled, training starting to go well, that kind of thing. So we'll just have to see how it pans out. But today we are going to go through items. We've created our inventory system. We've created our thing here for our inventory. We've created stuff that goes for items. Drag and drop doesn't seem to be working, but we can work on that. And tab doesn't seem to be working, so I do want to adjust that first before we get started. But basically the gist of it, I want to do an item that we can actually pick up off the floor, and if we set it to space mode, have it float around and do things. So yeah, that's today. Let's get started, shall we? So let us go to our first person blueprint character here. And we have this tab thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to get rid of those. We don't really need that. What I would like to do is come into our C++ and create a new variable. So in here we have our bool in space. I'm just going to have this one up here. And this is going to be lock movement. It's possibly another flag that already does this, but we come in here and basically anytime we move, so for example, jump if not lock movement. I'm just going to wrap the ones on here on the move. No point on the stop jumping because we kind of want jumping to stop anyway. Move up. We don't really want him floating in the air. And our look. So that's fine. Okay, so once that's built, we are going to add some new C++ classes. So we need to come over to our C++ here, and we're going to add a new actor. That's going to be our first one, and I'm going to label this resource. Isn't that lovely? Let's add that to the project. And what we will be adding is when this finishes loading. Right. And what else we need is I want to add a new interface, and I want to call this interact. So while that is reloading, we have our interact class here. I want to do hash include. Oh no, I don't want to be in this file. I want to be in my resource file. Hash include interact.h. And then from here, we want to call our public, and it'll be I interact. Now, interact is going to have our similar functions that we had in here. If this can. Did I include the interact functions in here? Is in space, set space. That's just player info. We did not. Right. Okay. Well, that's fine. Let's just copy this and set this to interact. And end region, interact. We want to get rid of that. And we just want interact in here. I don't know. Did I actually stick this in our... No. Good. Good. I'm not going crazy. So we're not overriding, we're virtual, interact, and we'll leave it at that. BP interact and get rid of that. So now we have our interact function. I do want to add an interact function to our interface. We need to copy our cannot implement in blueprint thing up here. So when we have our blueprint callable, we can set that virtual void equal to 0. That should be fine, but that does mean we need to now implement that on our resource. So we do need to copy that. We can make it virtual. There is no reason why you shouldn't. But this is going to be override, and then we just need to implement this into our resource. Now, similarly for this, I am going to create a blueprint interact on here. Just to make things easier. You don't have to do it. You can do everything in C++, but I want to make this nice and simple. The other thing I want is also the set space state. I feel that this interface is only going to be for the resource interaction, so having that at least gives us the option of doing that. And then yet again I will add that to our resource. So it is a little bit of duplication, but nothing out of the ordinary. As for the set space state, I can pretty much just copy this onto this resource here. We don't need the oxygen drop. We don't need that. We just need the Boolean flag for this, and then everything else can be handled in blueprints. The other thing that we need, where is it? In fact, the best one to get this from is our projectile. Let's get our collision comp. That's the interface. Don't want the interface. Close some of these because some of these are irrelevant now. We need our collision component, which we will add our component sphere, and I'm just going to replace those with that and move it above the generated because Unreal Engine requires the generator to be first. And the other one I want is a mesh, and this is going to be a U static mesh component. The reason why we're doing static mesh components is because these are just going to be resources that are just going to be floating around in space. They're not, I mean, if you want them animated in space, feel free to change that to a skeletal, but for the purposes of this, we will just stick with that. We can pretty much, I'm just going to lift that. We don't need all of that. I'm just going to lift it anyway. And collision comp, we'll set the initial to 100, get rid of the collision profile, get rid of that, and we want to do set root component is our collision comp. Because really at the end of the day, you're only going to be doing stuff that's interacting with that. You're not really going to be doing anything specific with it. You just need it there for the collision check. So we will copy the mesh stuff over here and add that. And I'm just going to call this mesh. I'm actually just going to change that to collision as well. And then we need mesh set, was it attach, setup attachment, and we want our collision comp. There we are. So that at least gets our actor with our interact function, our BP interact, our space, gravity stuff, our collision components, our mesh, and just the basic setup here for that. Obviously, we also have that lot movement stuff, which we'll need to finish. But if I control an F11 and build this, hopefully I haven't messed anything up. I have. What have I messed up? Oh, the interact. The interact on here I haven't implemented. Okay, let's add that in here as well. I'm not going to include it into movement, and I'm not going to include it into things. So let's just add that here. And this is just going to call BP interact. Cool. But we need a base resource. So let's get started with this. So we need a new folder, and I'm just going to call it resources. Resources. Marvelous. In here, I'm going to create a new blueprint class, and it's going to be called resource. Select that, and we're just going to call this base resource. Okay, so we have our base resource, and we are coming up into here. We're going to set our mesh. I'm just going to set it to like a sphere. That's a little big. Did I add? No, that should have been fine. Maybe the model. Let's try a different sphere. What about you? Oh, you're big. yeah. We need to make that about 200 then. There we are. Cool. At least that's center, which is exactly what I was after. So while we're on here, we can put this in here, and I'm just going to scale this down. And then I'm also going to put one over here, and we are going to set the collision in here to just block all dynamic. And then on here, I'm sorry if you can hear some crunching. It's my dog behind me. He was a little bit off, so he needed some attention. So in here we need to set on the collision simulate physics and turn off enable gravity. Now as for our event graph in here, we can pretty much get rid of all of that. We need to override the interact and set gravity. The set gravity we can get from not our project settings. I don't even know why that's even open. Our first person character, because it is pretty much just that. But it's not our capsule component, it's our collision component. Okay. Why are we... Collision component is not blueprint read right. Okay, so we need to close that down and come back to our resource. Yes, it is only that. We need to actually change these and get rid of this category projectile. Okay, so we can reopen some of these. Right, that's fine. We should now be able to compile and save that. Right, so the interact, we actually need our character on this interact. So why don't we close that, come to our interact interface, and we want a character star character. on our resource. We need to change that, obviously, and I'm actually going to add it to the BP interact as well. So let's add our character, because we need to know which character is actually being called. Without that, you're not going to know which inventory to add it to, so you have to do it to at least one. Okay, so let's open that. See, our base resource now has our character. We can cast to BP first person character. I've left it a character just so it's nice and, you know, clean. We just want to first get storage component. Then we want to check BP can take item. Okay, now we can split this. And what item do we have? Well, we don't really have any variables. We could add it here. I'm going to add it in C++. So yes, I am stopping my project again. Let's have this, copy it, and I want fname unique name. And that just marries up with our storage component. So now once we start this, we can put in a default name at least. And what default name do we have? So in our thing, we have our items, our item database, we had our test row. So by default, I'm just going to add test row as our default unique name up here. With that in mind, we can then use get unique name, plumb that into there. And if we can take the item, so if it's true, storage component, add BP item. And what item are we adding? Well, we just, no, I don't want to promote that to a variable. Thank you. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to split. Copy that down, and we just want to add that. And what do we want? We don't want an item index. There's no stack size, so we don't need to worry about that. The last thing we need to do is destroy actor, because we want to destroy it. Once we picked it up, we want to destroy it. In here, we added this add BP item just to test it. I'm going to delete that. And on this, true goes to there, false goes to there. That is on our tab key. I also want to do set lock movement. So now I can plug that in there, and that's all nice. So if we click play, we now have tab working on our inventory, but we don't have anything to do the pickup. So the reason why we don't have that is because we have no kind of way of looking at something. So firstly, we need a new variable down here, which we're just going to call interactable. And this is just going to be an actor reference. And we actually need the tick event. Oh, no, not a comment. I want the event tick. Now, I'm not really sure if there's a way of doing this without using tick, because you want it to sort of update when anytime you move. You could probably stick it in the look function, not that one. Movement. Look, yeah. So you could probably stick it in here, but I'm just going to stick it on the tick because it saves some time here. First person here, we want to get our world location here, and then we want to get forward vector. We then want to multiply this forward vector. This is standard ray tracing, and we're going to convert this to a float. And I'm just going to put 500. And then we need to add that to our existing one here. And then we just need to do a line trace by channel. Our start is our world location, our end is our end location because that's 500 units in front. We don't need to worry about anything else. I'm going to draw for one frame. If we have a return value, we want to break. And the hit actor, we want to check does implement interface, and we want our interact interface. Pawn that off of the true. And then if that is true, we want to set our interactable to our hit actor. In all other cases, we want to set it to nothing. Right. Now have we actually implemented? We haven't implemented our interact on BP interact. There we are. We'll bring that down and basically just check. Do we have a validation get? Plug that in. If we are valid, call interact on that. And just so we know, we can say print string here and just say hello so we know we're actually looking at our thing. If we come into here, you can see now we've got hello. If I just leave off of it, all the messages disappear, go back onto it. And if we press E, nothing happens. Now, why does nothing happen? Because I don't believe we've set up our interact. So I'm just going to do this one, IA interact. Sorry, I did this in my sample project. I was pretty sure I'd already done it, but apparently not. So IA interact, that's no problem. We now need to come back up to our default. Let's add our new mapping for interact. And our interact key is going to be E. So we can save that. In our character, when I open the C++, we have all of these input actions. We're going to copy one here. And we're just going to call it interact. And then we need we've got our interact function, which I think I need the const f input action values value in there for this binding. So when we come back to here, we can go to our set player input. Then we need, let's do started. And we want our interact action started. Where's our interact function? Oh, copy that. And we'll just plumb that in there. So now when we hit E, we'll be able to interact. Though I believe I do need to still set it on the action type, so we will need to get that from the blueprint. So let's find our blueprint, first person character, no, and we want our interact action here and just IA interact. So now, still nothing works. Why? Did it save everything? Well, I'm missing the print string. Let's have a look. Well, we have our interactable. It is valid. Oh, we haven't set a character. That's probably... Don't we need self on here? That's missing. Let's see if that fixes our issue. There we go. See, now we have our resource. If I do that one, we now have two resources. Drag and drop still isn't working. So we still need to fix that. But overall, we now have our things. So if I also come into here and I'm now floating, if I run into that, see it now actually floats away, which is exactly what we want for the Breathedge things. Hey, sorry, my dog seems to be wanting some attention. You want some attention? Do you want some attention? What is left? So we have our items. This one doesn't roll. Only this one, because it's sort of simulating physics, though it doesn't work until you're actually floating, so that's something that we may need to sort. But this one down here, the resource itself should just be with physics enabled. Just gravity is off. So if I'm on here, I should just be able to now run into that. So that's fixed that. Right. So the drag and drop, that is a UI thing. So let's have a look at our UI. This will be on our storage item. And on drag detected. Right, so what have we got here? Okay, so I had a bit of a play with trying to figure out why the drag and drop wasn't working, and it's because I took out these. It kind of looks like they're actually needed, so what I've done is set this when it's visible to game and UI, and set the this to focus on the inventory, and obviously set show mouse cursor, and then on false just set it back to game mode only, because I think when it's game mode only you can't really interact with the UI unless you focus it first. So it was doing some sort of weirdness around there. I've still got the lock movement stuff in here, but now if we come in here and we move around, we pick that up, tab to open our thing, we can now drag drop no problem. So yeah, that's at least that. The only thing that we will need to do, which I will save for the next video, is when we drop off of this, it's not putting the item on the floor, which not difficult to do, but obviously it's going to be a little bit more work than I want to put into this video. But yeah, that is pretty much it. We now have items, guys. We now have an ability to pick up items, and the good thing is once we're sorted, we can just fill this table, and you see we've got static mesh here. So we can just create a resource-based item or with a unique name and that static mesh. So yeah, we're pretty much in a good place. The only thing I could think of is we probably need... No, we don't even need that. I was going to think we probably need to expose stuff on Swarm, because we've added this resource into C++. That's fine, and we always have access to this. This is edit anywhere. So yeah, no, we're good. So we now have resources and pick up items. We just now need to add the drop items, and we're pretty much done with the items. We just need to actually flesh out what items we have and then figure out how to sort of spawn them around. So yeah, I'll see if I can save that for the next video, but thank you very much for joining, guys. Apologies for if it seems like I'm tired. I am very tired. Dogs keeping us up and various things. But hopefully we'll be back to normal soon. But thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. Bye-bye.